wanted to read to you from the Manhattan Institute polling that we did in 2023 during the Republican primary. This was only of likely Republican primary voters in Iowa, in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, and in Nevada. And we asked them about immigration, about legal, high-skilled immigration specifically. And we asked them, would you make it easier, not change it, or harder for immigrants who are professionals with advanced degrees in science, math, technology, and engineering to come to the U.S.?
What do they mean by advanced degrees? Let's be clear. Is it just
master's
is fine? Okay, fine.
So, yeah. 43% said easier. Only 10% said harder. 41% said no change. That is the most restrictionist, right, subset of the population. Among the overall population of Americans, or all Republicans, is well over 70% want to make it easier for people who have advanced degrees in STEM to come to the U.S. I think it's an easy sell. The hard sell is that we have over 2 million people coming illegally to the United States every year through the border. You have 500,000 people coming here through chain migration who have very little English proficiency. And that should be the conversation on immigration, not on limiting the high-skilled part, I think.
I think those respondents, though, were under the impression that these are truly exceptional candidates. And as I already stated, the foreign educated immigrants...
Well, they're just professionals with
advanced degrees from abroad.
Sure.
Is that what you're saying?
They're just professionals with master's degrees and PhDs, right?
Okay. Well, they're lesser skilled in a number of...
Than who? Than the average American? Certainly not.
That's what the data shows. That
no, they're lesser skilled, you're saying, than people with the same degree who are born in the States.
Right.
Which makes all the sense because English is not the native language.
It was adjusted for English literacy. Even adjusted for the language barrier, they are still less skilled.
Sure, but if there's more skilled than the average person, they're still, increasing the average skill of the U.S., right?
You're comparing STEM graduates of U.S. universities to STEM graduates who had their graduation abroad.
Right.
So you're not comparing just to the average American. The average American doesn't even go to college. The average American doesn't even go to college.
I'm saying of equal educational attainment adjusted for the English language barrier. They are less skilled.
But by the way, remember, the U.S. graduates are also children of immigrants, many of whom are the children of high-skilled immigrants. I think I saw something about the math Olympiads or like one of these high school competitions, like half of the winners are the children of H-1B visa holders. Because remember, who are these high-skilled immigrants? Their marriage rate is super high. They have no children out of wedlock. They are highly educated. And the result is that their children born in America are like superstars. And that's also a piece of this puzzle that we're not talking enough. What is the long-term impact of having a population that has very conservative cultural values, right? In marriage, in education, in pushing people to succeed. I think that's a good thing.
I understand that point, but if we're going to talk about culture, a key indicator of assimilation is, I believe, is it intermarriage?
Intermarriage, yes.
Okay, so I think that's dropping, actually, among Indians.
I can explain. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is dropping among Asians in general, and that is because Asians, until recently, were a very tiny percent of the population. So it was hard to marry among Asians because it was hard to find people of your same ethnic background. Now it's easier, so mechanically it's falling. But
she's saying it's dropping, meaning they're not doing that anymore, right?
Right. They're not doing it. Right. And I'm saying that's expected because the share of Asians of America is growing.
In absolute terms, there's more intermarriage. It's in relative.
It's relative.
Yeah.
They're still marrying outside of their race more than the average person, especially people with advanced degrees. I'm not sure specifically about the Indians. I just mean Asians in general.
Mm-hmm. Indians do have a good... they have like a 1, some people say put it at 1, some people put it at a 6% divorce rate, where white Americans are at 15, African Americans are about in the 30s, 35, 36% divorce rate, and that really has an impact on how kids perform in school, where they go to college, all of those things. I mean, there is some cultural aspects that need to be concerned, but before we get there, I want to go back to, we have these big firms, and you constantly see like big layoffs of American workers, and then you see maybe it's anecdotally, but like I don't have the statistics on hand, but I always hear, we have been replaced by lower wage tech workers from India. I mean, in Texas, it was a really big problem. They would call the congressman's office constantly and complain about this. We see it happen. I think Tesla just laid off a whole bunch of people, and now they're having more people come in.
Didn't Disney do the same thing?
Yes,
Disney had a problem with it.
That was a scandal. It was a famous case.
And so we're still seeing problems with this. So I don't think that opening the cap to allow more of that to happen seems like a good idea at all.
If this was really about low wages and replacing American workers, you would see more H-1B requests when companies are cutting and laying off jobs. In fact, you see the opposite. H-1B requests go up when employment is increasing in these fields. If you looked at during the recession, H-1B requests went way down. We didn't even have a lottery during that time. And again, it comes back up when the economy recovers and they're adding workers. So you see U.S. employment and immigrant employment go up together. Again, the idea that this is widespread and it's causing this unemployment is belied by the fact that you've doubled the number of software developers in 10 years. Even in the last 5 years, we've seen an increase of almost 70% in software development employment. There's been no increase in the unemployment rate among software developers. So yes, you can look at these different, I mean, Musk took over X, right, or Twitter, and he fired all these people who were doing useless DEI stuff and censors and all this stuff. And okay, so that happened, but that doesn't mean that, and then those people got productive jobs elsewhere in the labor force, and that's a good thing. So you can't just look at, generically the company laid off some people and they hired some other people. That doesn't mean that there was replacement there.
Also, the real replacement I think is happening is on hiring people abroad, right? Like if you're going to really replace somebody, why would you bring them to the U.S., pay $15,000 for the sponsorship of an H-1B on average between government fees and lawyers? That's what it costs for a large company. When you can just have a programming shop in India. It's a remote work, really. Like,
I mean, okay, so then, but the same thing. There's graphic designers everywhere. Why did Patrick Bet-David go through all those hoops to do that and pay that extra money for somebody to make his thumbnails just now? Why did he do that?
Maybe he really liked that person.
Yeah, it could be that they really like,
or they really enjoy having someone tied to them and the conditions of the job that you have to, or the conditions of staying in the country that you have to have that job. Which I mean,
wouldn't you be able to pay somebody less in India?
That happens. So like we're in the era of streaming, and it's huge for Twitch streamers to just go to Fiverr.
Oh yeah.
And they pay $5 to get all the graphics for their channels. Like they'll pay some guy that's in Thailand or Vietnam, always foreign, and they'll say, "Hey, I want this. I want this. My podcast is about sports, so I need this theme, these colors." And it's cheap. It's dollars. So it's not a salary of a graphic designer.
That's right. So my main concern is when it becomes possible for really smart people to work from anywhere, why would they choose America, right? Because think about it, you can go to Dubai, there's zero income tax. It's safer than the United States.
Yep.
You have great infrastructure, great services. Yes, it's not a democracy. You understand. You're still going to want the people who want freedom in the United States. But what about the billionaires and the people who invest and the next big startup and the next innovation? They're going to want to go to other countries where they can do these things. So we should want the smart people as long as they want to be here.
Okay, but so this is what the MAGA base will say. At the risk of what? At the risk of losing our culture?
That's right. That's
at the risk of losing, all the traditions and things that we have here. And it's not about brown skin.
I didn't say brown skin. I just think we started this podcast off by saying that wasn't a factor. I do think it is an important factor.
Well, it's cultural. It's not just.
Yeah, it's cultural.
Cohesion.
It's cultural and ethnic, and it's more than, and I think that those people, it's not going to be easy to please them. I agree with that. But I think they are a minority. They're definitely a minority of the country. I think that the America First market conservatives like Daniel are a majority of the Republican Party. They want to see economic growth. They want to see the United States be the strongest and most economically prosperous country in the world. And if you look at the research that's been done on this, the H-1B restrictions are encouraging offshoring. to other countries. And you're reducing investment in the United States. You're reducing the number of major companies who are created here and built here. You're increasing the amount of competitors who are getting startups in China and India and Canada. And that's a bad thing for the United States.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. So subscribe and come hang out.